Since posting the videos demonstrating the ITSM Service Desk dashboard, along with the n8n workflows and the schema, I've had a few questions. One question in particular from a gentleman called Raphael. Shout out to you, Raphael. Now, he highlighted that one of the key challenges that he faces is having different information in different places about a hardware. So let's just say, for example, a user comes to you with a problem with their particular laptop. To get some history in terms of what was done on the laptop with regards to maybe how it was built, that information would be stored in one location. Then if you wanted to get some history in terms of what kind of problems has the laptop faced in the past that the IT admins had to resolve, you would use another tool. Maybe that would be the ticket system, and you'll run a report to see. You're more than likely going to have to run a report in terms of tickets submitted by the actual user, rather than you being able to search the ticket system directly relating to the hardware with regards to the serial number, for example. So you would have to generate a report, get all the tickets that was submitted by that particular user. Then you're more than likely going to have to filter through those tickets to find the tickets that's relating to the hardware, an actual problem with their hardware. Now, point is that for an IT admin, they're going to have to use multiple different tools to get different types of information relating to a device. The question was, how would I solve that? So what I've done is, in this section here in the hardware inventory section, I've added an additional tab, which is the asset 360. And the list of all the assets, and let's use Bob Smith, for example. So Bob Smith, he comes to Service Desk or submits a ticket to Service Desk saying, I've got a problem with my laptop. Cool. What an IT admin can do is then select Bob Smith and his asset from their database, and they're presented with this. So you got Bob Smith, you got what office he's in, the serial number, of course this is the demo, but the serial number of his hardware and what the hardware is. Okay. Now the key thing is that here you got a quick metrics that shows there has been 3 incidents submitted with relating to a problem with the actual device. 1 fixed, and there's a couple of documents relating to the hardware. So let me show you this quickly. So you have, in this demo, we've got documentation. In this section here is where you would just add manual guides, troubleshooting guides, even down to warranty, the warranty certificate, and other information that is going to be useful with regards to the information relating to that particular device. Now, what I have done is I've just added a test document. So in this case, these are actual documents. So I went on the internet and just downloaded the tech spec PDF for this actual Dell laptop. Now the actual PDF is saved in a Google Drive folder. This could be located on SharePoint or OneDrive, for example. Now, all the IT admin will need to do is just open a doc, which will just open a new tab, and they're presented with the direct documentation. We go to the test doc, which is just simply a Word doc that I've created. Click open the doc, and there you are. It takes you directly to the documentation relating to that hardware, and the actual document is saved on your cloud servers with a link directly to the front end system here. Now, how an IT admin would do this is naturally select a document type, give the document a title. Now, in this case, where it says Google Drive link, again, this could be the OneDrive link location or the SharePoint link location, etc. Add some notes or any relevant information that's needed, and the engineer or the person that's submitting the document has to put in their name, put in their email address or their username, and then they'll press link document, and it will be presented here at the bottom. Now, so that's the documents. Right, next you have the incidents sub tab. Now in here, how I've set this up is whenever a hardware, so in this case, this is Bob Smith. Bob Smith says that he has a problem with his device. The IT admin will log that incident. So in this case, we've got Bob Smith, we've got a P3, and I've just typed in beforehand, Bob attempted to install a software, but it failed. the IT admin will just click incident. That will save to the database and be added to the history log of this device. Now, how you will get this to work with your actual ticketing system that you're using in the company, that can be down to either processes. In terms of this system, I am actually working on a AI automation feature for this where the IT admin actually logs an incident and there'll be a trigger which enables an AI to generate the ticket in the ticket system relating to this log incident. But that's got to be another video once I've really polished it off, done some testing, and got it working consistently. So look out for that one. But in terms of this, we've got documents that's relating to the device. We've also got any logged incidents relating to the device as well. So an IT admin or IT manager or anyone can get a full history of any issues that's gone on with this actual device. Then we've got the fixes applied. All right. So let's just use the incident with regards to Bob attempting to install a software, but it failed. So in this case, we will just pick software, engineer, check, and manually installed software using admin credentials, using admin service account. Okay, and then resolve successfully. And then in here, this will be the actual ticket number. And again, I'm working on a feature where as you're adding in the actual ticket number from your ticketing system, and once you select fixed record or record fix, sorry, that automation will also trigger and update the ticket in your ticket system. Again, be something I'll show later on in future videos. But for now, in this example, we've added that information, and as you can see, there's a log with an actual timestamp. I've got an example down here where we've got the hardware repair. So in this example, replace the sticky keyboard. And as you can see here, it's got a actual ticket number that it's relating to. Okay, and then finally, we've got a section where we've got the build and configure logs. So let's just say, for example, you've upgraded Windows 11 version from 22H2 to 25H2. That would be a log that the IT admin puts in terms of what they've done on the device. So it could be anything from, the initial build, so re-image, or it's imaging, because it's obviously the initial build, the first build, or re-imaging, upgrading the OS, maybe changing some BIOS configuration or BIOS changes, particular software that's been deployed, and so on. You get the point. But in here is basically where an IT admin will just add or log the activity of the actual hardware itself, even down to, I believe, down to handing over. I'll say handed, I may change that. So I may change that to kind of redeploy to a different user or something along those lines. Or maybe that's what other could be used for. But yeah, in terms of the example, build and config log is where the IT admin will just log any activity they've done on the machine, whether it's reimage, build, update software, remove software, and so on. And that way, anyone that selects a particular hardware, they will be able to see, as well as get access to the documents, they'll be able to see what problems the actual hardware has had, what fixes has been applied to that, and any other logged information with regards to the actual device itself. Now, that's the front end. Next, let me just show you the additional information that's added to your database to make this bit work. Okay, switch over to here, and I've got the hardware asset 360 schemas. So I've broke this down into, I think, 8 sections. 7. Yeah. So I broke this down into 8 sections. Okay. Now, the main thing is that for this to work, you've already got to, let me just put this back. You must have the hardware inventory table already set up in your schema. Now, if you was following the videos that I've put out with regards to showing how the system's built, you would remember that one of the first things that we do is set the foundation, and the foundation is the hardware schema, the security and compliance, the software asset management, as well as the inventory schemas. This here is dependent on the hardware inventory table existing within your Postgres database, right? Now, as long as you've got that foundation, you could then run these different sections. Now, section 1 is just basically creating certain extensions if they don't exist already in the database. And what that is, setting up the universally unique identifiers. Now we then create the actual document classification types. So actually, let me show you an example of that. So if I just open this node up. So for example, you've got your hardware document and the different types. So user manual, setup guide, troubleshooting guide, warranty certificate, etc. If you remember, you'll notice that there are part of these drop downs, not this one. So these are the different parts of the drop downs, okay? And so what they are is the different document types. So again, hardware. So when it's the hardware document type, you've got user manual as a type, you've got setup guide as a type, and so on. Then we've got other examples in terms of incident status. As you've got open, in progress, resolved, closed. Fix outcomes. Was it successful, partial, unsuccessful? So you get the point. Here, for example, build event type. So it was initially build. Was it a rebuild? Is it the OS installation, configuration change, and so on? That's basically what this section 2 implements into the system. Then we've got the core table. So now this is just basically linking documentation to the hardware asset. So where I showed you the PDF, so where we went here, went to documents, and we've got this tech spec PDF of the Dell laptop. And when I clicked open, it directed it to Google Drive, where we've got the actual PDF itself. Okay, so the PDF is not in the database. That's what this section 3 core tables do. Now, then we move on to section 4. And basically all this does is ensure that there's timestamp triggers. So that would be, if you go here, if you notice down there in the bottom, it's got the IT admin, the date, and the time it was done. Okay, so that's section 4. Section 5 now, you've got the audit triggers. Now, this is the actual security part of things. Once documentation is uploaded into the system, it can't be changed. Okay, and that's a key thing for this ISO IEC standard 27001, as well as the ISO 9001 2015, right? Whereas you can't update or you can't delete any information that's once it's been submitted into the database. All right. Naturally, row level security, of course. So there is a restriction in terms of accessing any of the data in the tables. Okay, so that's section 6. Then we've got section 7, and it identifies any of the hardware that doesn't have any documents. And if it hasn't got any documents, basically it drives the MTTR reduction of objectives. The time a IT admin spends acquiring different information regarding the actual hardware itself. All right, so that's what section 7 does. Then we have section 8. Now, section 8 is just populate some demo data so that you can see and make sure that the different tabs is actually working. But ideally, if you're building this ready for production, then yeah, I would skip this. So this is the additional schema you need to add to the database. Now we're going to move on to the n8n workflows. This is this tab here. Now we've got 4 workflows for 4 different tabs. Now 2 of the actual workflows are more for notifications to let you know that information's been added to the system. For example, if we go to the documents tab, when an IT admin fills in this information and then clicks on link document, the information that they've entered here gets added to the database. When it comes to the n8n, triggers this webhook, information gets normalized in terms of it gets cleaned up based on the information that comes from the actual webhook, and then that information is sent as a notification to, in this case, I've put in here the compliance manager. So that's the compliance email. Okay, next we're going to talk about incidents. So again, IT admin puts in who's reporting the incident, the priority, and then the incident description, and then clicks on log incident, right? That is then added to the database with the timestamps. Now in the back end, this webhook is also triggered. A response goes out to the front end. Now this information from the actual webhook is normalized. Now this Supabase node here, I know it looks different from the Postgres nodes that you've seen in for example, here, but again, it still links to the same database. Now what this does is it gets the actual asset that the incident log is relating to. Then here, this gets the actual incident relating to the actual asset. Okay. And then this code node here merges that information together. Now, if that incident, so if we go back to the front end, if that incident was a P1, what will happen is it will go up here and the IT admin or the service, not the IT admin, someone will be notified. So manager, service delivery manager, etc. Okay. So that's the incidents workflow. Next, we've got fixes applied. Now, this is similar to documents in terms of IT admins adds the information in, clicks fix record. This information is added to the database with its timestamp that can't be changed. Now, in the backend, all that happens is a notification. So webhook is triggered. A response goes back to the actual front end for the IT admin to know that successful actions happened from clicking on the actual button. Information is then normalized in terms of what comes through on the webhook, and then a notification is sent out. Again, this could be to IT manager or anything like that. Okay, so that is adding a fix. Then finally, we've got the build and configure log workflow. So IT admin adds in the work that they've done on that particular device and all that relevant information. Okay, and then click add build log entry. So same system as before, triggers the webhook, gets a response on the front end. The information is cleaned up nicely. Now, then you come up to the build log. Is the build log valid? And all that's just confirming that the key information has actually been in. So event type, the name of the engineer, the description of the actual work that was done, and this log has to apply to an actual device that's in the system. So this device has to be in the hardware inventory table within your database. All right. So it's really those four things: hardware exists, event type, engineer name, and what work in terms of the description that the engineer done on the device. And they click add build log entry. All right. Oops, no, next one. So as long as that information is there, cool. It goes through and then the actual build is logged to the database. And again, a notification goes out to a manager stating that work has been done on this particular device. Now, if for whatever reason that the IT admin failed to put in all the necessary required information, then a notification will go back to them to let them know that your log entry was unsuccessful because you missed out key information. That is all the additional workflows to add this feature and reduce the amount of time an IT admin is using different tools to gather information about one device. All the information about a device, all in one place. Anyone can view, can click, get any documentation that's relating to the device, get an overview in terms of what problems that this device has experienced in the past, what fixes has been applied to the device over time, of course, and then what work has an IT admin done on that device, all in one place. And you could potentially do that to all your devices. Okay. So again, shout out to Raphael. I hope this video helps and gives you a little bit more clarity in terms of how I would solve that problem with regards to reducing the amount of time your staff is using different tools to gather information about a particular device, and how you could have that all in one place. Again, without the need of a SaaS solution, this is built internally within your business on your own database, making your life much more optimized within the IT operations. Okay, so Until the next one, have a good one.